Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.
This is a series of games that I actually had no idea, to be honest, about. I did as much research as I can, but essentially it's a series of like this. I don't know. It's like this character, and now he's like been transported to Hawaii, and he's on a mission to find his mom. And like you can play as him. I'm probably gonna mess this up, but Ichiban Kasuga. I hope I said that right.
I feel like you did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Or Kazuma Kiryu? I messed that one up. Kazuma's right, but Kiryu maybe?
Kairu?
I don't know. Kairu! What, did I say Kazuma? Kairu is the character. I must have
Kazuma Kairu?
Yeah, that's who it is. I have a typo here. Kairu. That makes sense. So both of those be playable characters. Ichiban goes on a journey to find his mother. But really what kind of interested me in this game, not so much the story or like this everything about the game, because I just didn't know too much about it. Just the gameplay kind of sparked my interest in like what it was with the over-the-top animations, which we'll show the trailer here in a second, and just like the gameplay mechanics really interested me. So yeah, let's pull up the trailer real quick and kind of see what we're talking about. But other than that, I didn't know much about this game.
Let's pull up the trailer. So, guys, if you got so a lot of people might not know. Adam, I don't know if you know this. Like a Dragon is actually the Yakuza franchise.
Ah,
yeah. So
yeah, I didn't know that.
So, Infinite Wealth is actually Yakuza 8,
right?
Which is
okay. I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why they're not calling it Yakuza 8, but it is actually Yakuza 8. And in this story. Yeah, like you said, there's two playable characters, Kairu and Ichiban.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
What?
It's like Frozen.
Oh, I paused it.
Oh, okay.
I paused it because you were talking about it. I was just so we can like jump into the trailer.
Oh yeah, no. Go ahead. Go ahead and play it.
Oh, okay.
It's like it was just a very awkward spot for a pause.
I'm starting it over.
I just I looked over and just saw like this weird pause of like this naked butt.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry.
Like, yeah.
But
okay, so yeah, this is actually Yakuza 8. And like you were talking about, there's two playable characters, Kairu and Ichiban. And I have a lot to say about this. So
yeah,
I'm excited for the franchise, but there's a couple things that I'm not excited about. But I do understand why it's like engaging to people. I mean, this is obviously a very funny thing, guys. If you're just listening on the Spotify, basically we're just looking at this like random naked guy on a beach, and you can kind of tell that like this is gonna be like kind of a funnier version of Yakuza.
Yeah. And so, this guy just wakes up naked on the beach, and like Dave said, it's supposed to be goofy, and just over the top with a lot of the mechanics within the game and stuff like that. Other than that, this trailer doesn't really reveal much. There's a lot of gameplay, like people have played the demos of it, and there's just a lot to what this game is gonna be in terms of like just things you can do in the game, and I thought that was what was really interesting about the game.
Have you ever played the Yakuza franchise before?
No.
Okay, so like the Yakuza is like the way that I describe Yakuza is like it's almost like they put like a 2D side scroller beat 'em up into like a 3D world. That's always the way that I've kind of like described Yakuza, and I do like that style, but I think this is almost like it's giving me vibes of like a GTA style Yakuza. So like the story of the Yakuza is like always kind of like kind of badass, like 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 a Japanese Chinese like mobster kind of thing, and it's always it always kind of has this like badass vibe. This has like a very kind of like quirky, kind of funny vibe to it, the same way that GTA does, but like you can tell it's gonna get serious at certain points. But yeah, are you getting that like kind of quirky vibe from it?
The quirkiness for sure, especially from the gameplay or the demo that I watched. there was like this like a job that you can do that you're riding a bike and you're a delivery driver.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, but like
Yeah.
you like when you deliver the like you can do like BMX tricks and do flips and stuff like that. It's just over the top, and I think that's where they're going with this game in terms of like trying to make it seem like it's just a fun, quirky game. Kind of taking a sidestep from what their usual games are. If that are their usual games more serious, like you said, most of them.
Yeah, the usual games are much more serious, and I think this is a good spot. Do you want to pull up the trailer that I sent over to you?
Yep, I can
Okay,
do that.
because this is so when this, like we talked about, this was Adam's, this was Adam's choice, and he sent it over, and I was like, my number one question is, why are they coming out with 2 games?
Right.
So Yakuza 8 Infinite, which is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, comes out on January 26th. What we're watching right now is a game Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, which comes out November 9th. And I was so curious at like why they're putting out 2 titles at pretty much the exact same time.
Right.
And if you're looking at the trailer right now, or you're just listening on the Spotify, this is much more like what I'm accustomed to seeing from a Yakuza. This is not quirky at all. This is just like a very badass, like mafia style, like kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
And so like this style gameplay is much more what I'm accustomed to with Yakuza, is this like 2D, it's like a 2D beat 'em up, but in a 3D world. And I actually think I'm more excited about this one than the other one.
To be honest, I didn't know this one was coming out until you sent this to me. And so I was confused as well, as when you're like, they're coming out with another one like this next coming month. And I think this one is supposed to be like a spin-off, like not a full game, is from what I read. And then the Infinite Wealth is more supposed to be like a game that's like bigger, I suppose.
Yeah, so I was curious at why they were putting out 2 of these games, and I think the answer is I think you might want to actually, so if you're interested in Infinite Wealth, I think you might actually want to play The Man Who Erased His Name first, because what happens in The Man Who Erased His Name is in Infinite Wealth, you have your main characters, which are Kiryu and Ichiban. The main character, Kiryu, at the end of Yakuza 6, basically what happens is he fakes his own death, and there's a big lapse of time, right? So there's a big lapse of time in between the end of 6 and the beginning of 8. And The Man Who Erased His Name is that story of Kiryu and what happened in between that time period.
Gotcha.
So that's why they're releasing the game at the same time, and they're releasing that one earlier, because basically what's going to happen is that The Man Who Erased His Name is going to fill in the gaps of the timeline of what happened, so that when you get into Infinite Wealth, you know what happened to Kiryu and what led him to get there.
Gotcha. That makes a lot more sense of
Yeah.
like where it's coming from. Yeah, because I was like, that didn't really make sense for me. So it's almost like an expansion into the story before this next one comes out. Essentially,
It's almost like they're putting out a game, but they're putting out a prequel first.
Yeah,
It's
really interesting.
Yeah, and it's weird to say like, obviously they're putting it out first, like it's a prequel, but it has like prequel vibes to it. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of the stuff that's happened in The Man Who Erased His Name, I think is stuff that's going to be happening in the same timeline as Yakuza 7. So it's like it is still a prequel, and they're putting it out first. And I think, honestly, I'm more excited for this. I'm more excited for The Man Who Erased His Name other than Infinite Wealth, because there's a few things about Infinite Wealth that I don't really enjoy. And if you guys were just listening on the Spotify, or if you were watching and you saw, the Man Who Erased His Name trailer that we just watched, the combat style is so sick in that game.
Yeah.
And that is 100% like what I've come accustomed to know when I played Yakuza, which is just this real like grindy beat 'em up style combat. And I really, really enjoy that. And then if you look at like Yakuza 7, they went much more to this like turn-based RPG kind of feel. And they've carried that over into Infinite Wealth, into Yakuza 8, that turn-based style combat.
Yeah.
And I'm not really like, I'm not a turn-based style RPG guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like some fans were probably disappointed when they went to the turn-based, and I feel like those same fans are still going to be disappointed for Infinite Wealth.
Yeah.
Does
I
that
can see
make
that because I was confused on how that turn base was working. Even like watching the gameplay, I was like, what? Like, it didn't seem very turn based. Like the guy, or like Ichiban, he was like just beating people up until they were dead, and I was like, wait, when does his turn end? Like, I didn't understand that because like he just keep going and he's just throwing punches. It's like, okay, he's still punching people. Like, when does his turn end? And then he does an ultimate. I was like, he never got hit once, like, so he has infinite turns. Like, I was so
right.
confused on how's it going.
I was so confused on how to play. And like, honestly, I say this all the time, but like, you know, some games are fun as like button mashers, and like Yakuza is fun as a button masher. You know what I mean? I
Right.
feel like they kind of like took that away from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can kind of see where you're going with that, but I thought it looked interesting in terms of like just what the game was, because I had never really looked into like a Dragon or Yakuza. Like, those are all new to me, and I was like, I wonder what this is. Maybe Dave can shed some light on the older ones, but yeah, I just thought it looked interesting, and some more about it is like, so it's that RPG turn-based combat, which I don't understand. So maybe people can help me understand in the comments a little bit better. But there's gonna be different jobs. Did you see that too?
No, I didn't see that.
Like, some of the confirmed jobs, and I think there's more. You can be a samurai. You can be a desperado. What is a desperado?
Like a rootin' tootin' cowboy.
Oh, really? Okay. You can be a pyro dancer. You can be a housekeeper, an action star, a Suji monster. Don't know what that is. You know what that is?
No idea.
All right. No idea. A linebacker. That's if you buy the DLC. You can be a linebacker.
You have to buy the
Or-
DLC and you can be an NFL player.
I guess. And then the last one is if you're a female character, you can be a tennis ace, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on with that.
That is your one choice. Is if you're a female character, you have to be a tennis
Well,
professional.
because the linebacker, you can only be a male. I'm guessing for the other ones, you can be different.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I just thought it was like the over the top animations, and just like, I thought that was kind of cool. And the setting's cool. Like, anything in Hawaii is cool. Like,
Yeah,
there's not many games set in Hawaii. Minus the Crew Motorfest is set in Hawaii now, but Hawaii is a cool kind of place. I also thought, like, what was I going? Oh, this one is supposed to be like the biggest map of all of them too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's why I was kind of thought it was kind of cool, and that's really all I have to say about it. I can't say that I'm super excited about this game or that I'm gonna get it, but I just thought it was an interesting game to talk about. One thing I do want to mention, it's coming out during a big time of these style games, like Fantasy Relink is coming out that same week. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and there's one more. Persona 3 is coming out then, and then it releases the same exact day as Tekken 8. And so I know there's a following to this game, but I don't know if there's going to be carryover into. If you've never played it, I don't think people are going to come from the other games that are released.
I don't want to be this guy, but I just I don't understand how Sega is still a studio.
Sega, sorry. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't really play those games too much anymore. Like,
I don't
Sonic,
I don't feel like anybody plays those games that much anymore.
Yeah, I do think there is, like, I read a lot of the comments of this game and like the videos I was watching, and there are people really excited about this game. I mean, like, there's excitement behind it, and like, I think there's a big fan base to keep them coming, but I don't think they're uber successful. You know what I mean?
I mean, Yakuza has a following. It definitely has a following, but I feel like, you know, just like we talked about, to go into that turn base and getting rid of the brawler style, the beat 'em up brawler style, like, they really lost out on some of their fan base. I mean, they really, really did. They lost me. I mean, honestly, they lost me. You know what I mean? When seven dropped and it went to turn base, I wasn't the hugest Yakuza fan.
Right.
But when 7 dropped and it went turn based, that was kind of the end for me. That's when I was like, no, Yakuza has just always been this button masher beat 'em up. Like, it's if I want like a turn based RPG, like, I could play something different. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's something better. I could play something better if I want a turn-based RPG. Honestly,
Right.
like that's kind of just the feel that I've got. So I don't know. This game, I'm not super excited about this game. I'm probably gonna pass on this, but like I will be I will be picking up The Man Who Erased His Name though, because like we talked about, that's a return to the Yakuza that I loved. It's a button masher with a dark, really cool storyline, and I'm more excited about that. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
I think that I saw that trailer, I think that one looks a little bit more appealing to me than this one.
Yeah.
But sorry, Infinite Wealth, you're getting a thumbs down.
Infinite
from
Wealth,
us
you're
today.
getting a thumbs down. And I do just want to say real quick, The Man Who Erased His Name, if you guys pick that up, I guess it also has in it a home port of Daytona, USA. Do you remember Daytona, USA?
No.
Do you remember the racing, like the first racing game that was in all the arcades that would just have like a row of like racing, like, no? You don't
No.
remember
Sorry,
that?
Dave.
No. How old
No.
am I, dude?
You're pretty old.
Guys, in the guys,
wait a minute. Speaking of that, it was your birthday, wasn't it, recently?
it was, yeah, last week.
And you didn't tell me. Happy
did not.
birthday, belated. So
Thank you.
All right, back
Thank you,
to
man.
it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Guys, please in the comments, please tell me that you know what Daytona USA is. It was like that, dude. It was like that first game in the arcade that had like the seats and stuff like that. There was like there would be like a row of like 12 like seats, and it was all Daytona USA, and you could all play together. Like all the
I don't remember that. I remember playing racing games, but I don't never remember the name of them like in the arcades.
Dude, Daytona
That's
USA.
I probably have played it, but like as a kid like that, I just didn't remember things like that.
Daytona USA was so sick. But anyway, if you grab that game for whatever reason, they decided to put a home port of Daytona USA inside of that game. So you can essentially go, I think the way that it works is you can go into a certain area in the game with your character and like sit down, and it like morphs, like you're like in an arcade, and it morphs into, you can play this home version of Daytona USA, which I think, like, as a retro gamer and obviously as an old person, I'm super excited for that. So I will be checking that out. It's gonna be sweet.